Hello and welcome to Stupid for Fantasy Football. I'm Adam, this is Jabber, JJ, and our stat guy, Colin, is joining us at the table. We know he's not as pretty as Claire.
I'm still fairly pretty,
but,
though.
you know, she's in high demand. So we're without her this week.
You're not
She'll be
as
back
pretty.
next week. We're going to get right into the show here, get going. With our favorite show segment to open up the show with. We're going to talk about who screwed us over on our teams this week individually. It's time for Who Screwed Me. All right, I'll go ahead and kick it off.
All right.
Yeah,
it's our Halloween graphic.
Adam.
Yeah. What happened?
Nice. It's creepy.
All right, so this week, and again, this is the second week in a row that I'm going to have to give a bad note to somebody that I usually love. Last week was Peyton Manning. This week, Wes Welker. He just seems to kind of disappear behind Deion Branch there. I don't expect that's going to be a problem. I think that Brady loves Welker. They'll go back to him. He's kind of like the run game there. I always say that. But he did not do much for me, and my team lost because I need 30 points out of him every week. Come on, Wes, help me out. All right. Who screwed you?
Wow, who screwed me? Hey, new camera angle. Hello, everybody. I'm next to
You're
the
not used to
host
that.
today.
Yeah.
Let's see, who screwed me this week? A lot of people screwed me, again. But let's just cut to the chase. Michael Bush, you weren't that good. You weren't terrible, but you weren't that good against the Niners. Sean Green, you suck. And that's why I traded you, okay? You and your sorry ass. You're out at barely legal, team barely legal.
But what about that bet
Shipped him
where
out.
he's going to get more yards than Desean
Oh,
Jackson?
I still think I'm going to win the bet. He's just going to have to win
due to injury
that bet for
as
me
opposed to production.
someplace else. I like this camera angle. The Chiefs' defense screwed me. I mean, after a great performance on the road, they got a -4. They gave up 35 points, 421 yards, and all they can muster was 2 sacks. So, note to my partner, I wanted to pick up the Seahawks. You negged it. So whatever, that's who screwed me.
Time to get
JJ?
a partner.
I like Mark. New camera angle too. Yeah,
Right?
it's kind of weird. Yeah,
Sure.
I like it. Yeah, we're throwing a flutter.
JJ's the new me.
I know it's kind of weird, and you're the new Claire.
That's not.
Go Niners!
But I, like Mark, could spend a lot of time talking about my entire team and how they screwed me. However, I think that I need to realize I'm in an abusive relationship. Miles Austin, again, second time this season, you've had 0 points. It's like when it's that relationship. You're like, but he's so amazing, and he's so wonderful.
He only does it because he loves me.
And then you have weeks like this, and you go from I'm in my league, 38 points to 0, and you cause me a lot of stress and anxiety. But then you come back and you're beautiful again, and it's amazing. And I don't know. I think I don't know what I need. I don't know what to do. It's just abusive.
Oh, hey, look at that. There he is.
There it is. There's my thing. See, maybe, Miles, you need to spend less time on the beach hanging
That was
out.
Miles frolicking?
That was Miles frolicking.
I don't
Now,
want
I
to
have
know
a
about
question.
him.
I have a
Who is
question.
that?
And,
Does your league award points for tapping big round asses?
If it did, I might have
money.
scored a point this week. But you see, look at that. He's up for a one-handed catch in that picture. You see that?
It's fun
That's
in the
good
sun.
form.
I think he was
Now,
showing
if he
her
was
his
showing
armpit.
that, hey, but he can really celebrate a touchdown.
JJ,
That's
what do you have
awesome.
against fun?
You know what else he can do? He can cause just kind of push someone out of the way so he can get a catch and then run for 65 yards.
In the ocean.
And all that ocean training, and then it can get called back because of offensive pass interference.
Yeah.
It's I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do about my.
JJ, I'm
just
looking
keep
at your
going back.
squad. It was just god-awful. I mean, I've never seen something that bad
It is.
in a long time.
David Garrard, I'm not going to blame you because you got hurt.
Let's blame him.
Let's blame
But
him
seriously,
anyway.
you sucked before you got
Didn't
hurt.
pick
I don't
up
know what
Trent
happened.
Edwards?
Go on to Colin. I can't
man,
talk about
man,
this
oh,
anymore.
Colin, who screwed
All right.
you?
Well, like everyone else, I had Welker. I had Kansas City. I actually managed to still win. But I'd say the big one would be I just blame myself because I didn't start Desean Jackson. I started Mike Wallace instead. Well, I should have replaced Wes Welker with Desean Jackson.
So, but what I love about that is that was you subconsciously taking my side of the bet that I lost with
Yeah,
Mark.
let's talk about the 12-er PBR
I appreciate
that I won.
your support.
Desean Jackson versus Mike
And
Wallace.
Wallace did respectable. He did a
He
respectable
did. He had,
job.
what, 3 catches for 90 yards?
Yeah, he had a
or something?
touchdown, so it's like, I'm not complaining.
Not as good as Deshaun,
No.
which covers me with my Sean Green loss.
Can
which
we
is
double
inevitable.
down on that bet this week?
Maybe, we'll see. We'll pick.
Because
Maybe
he's on a bye and
we'll
he's
start
injured.
sparring.
So I think I'll pretty much win it
Right.
by default.
Right.
All right, well, that's it for Who Screwed You. Now we get to celebrate when we're right. That was about when we were wrong. Now it's about when we're right. This is guys we've told you about, usually way before anybody else. In fact, I'm willing to say all the time before anybody else. So this is time for We Told You So.
Whoa.
Oh, finally a new one from
Love
Corey.
it.
I
Love it.
That just looks like a
What does that
goat, a
really
chicken, and a
say?
cow?
It's
I don't
like
know.
It looks like
was-
sacrifices that you would do.
We're trying to bring in the bestiality crowd.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow.
We're trying to
I don't know if I
appeal to
want that
everybody
crowd.
That's
on the
creepy.
net.
You're
That
wicked
is
gods or something.
We're going to start it off with a guy that I recommend. I actually wanted to recommend this guy in the first week of the year, but he was injured. We recommended him a couple weeks ago. We said in week 3 of the season, before the game started, to pick this guy up and stash him. That's Chris Ivory. What did ESPN say about him? They said he would get you 0 points. Gonna say we won that one.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And he's now on my team. That's
Yeah.
who I traded.
And my team.
And his team.
So we've taken our own advice.
Because
We
our
have.
teams both.
They're not good.
And by the way, he's playing Cleveland this week, and Thomas is not going to be playing. So again, he should be really solid for you. Great RB2, and if you're in a keeper league, you gotta love that kid.
It looks like Bush is going to be out too.
Yeah.
Reg?
Yeah.
Oh,
Originally
yeah.
they had said that this was the week he'd be back, but it looks like that he is not going to be back. So
And
you got
Thomas has a high ankle sprain, so it's looking like Pierre Thomas, dealing with a high ankle sprain is I mean, that could
Yeah.
be weeks before he gets back.
Yeah,
so
and
Ivory's a great pick.
I'd bet one of the reasons that Bush isn't coming back
And I
is
just
they
picked him
probably
up, too.
think, and Colin just picked him up. We all have Chris Ivory now. Is Ivory was so good, they're probably saying, you know what, let's let Bush rest
yeah, there's
a little
no
bit more,
there's no
have him
rush
in the
to get him
playoffs.
back. They're winning games,
Yeah.
And they have Sir Julius Jones. That guy was knighted.
No.
No? It's different guy.
No.
All right.
All right, so
That joke
Mark, what do we
landed.
got next on the We Told You So?
We told you so. Next one is up. I'm telling you about Kevin Cobb because in honor of Claire.
Because I can't say his name right.
Because he can't say his name right. Kevin Cobb. Claire had it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Well done, Claire,
he
wherever you
may
are.
be a little bit of a one-hit wonder. Vic is going to be back soon. But hey, Kevin Cobb, I mean, what's going on this week? Oh, they're on bye.
Well, no. Cobb is starting this week.
Starting this
they're
week.
on bye week 8.
That's right.
Vic has practiced fully. He's going to be the backup, but I think they're going to give him just an extra week. They want to make sure he's fully healthy. But
Right.
he'll be around. So, that said, if Cobb balks at all here, Reed will pull him and put Vic in.
Yeah,
and
keep
if
in mind-
not, Vic is coming back after the week 8 bye.
But Reed has been definitely very wishy-washy.
Yeah.
And going back and forth on his guarantees of who his quarterback's going to be. So
Well, and Cobb
keep
is
an eye
his
on that.
guy.
Make sure you have a viable backup.
Cobb is his draft pick. He
Sure.
tutored Cobb. That's his guy.
Sure.
So if he plays well, I think and let's face it,
Vic
Philly
is his
fans are
criminal
fickle.
guy.
If you're winning now, we love you.
Yeah, and another thing about this situation is I think Vic will get the starting job back. If Cobb goes out and does 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, then yeah, it might become more of an issue. But even if Cobb is Reed's guy, I think it behooves Philadelphia to go ahead and play Vic because then they can trade him, keep Cobb. And obviously Vic's the more tradable player because he's older. Cobb's going to be around a lot longer.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm saying that because he's on 2 of my spots.
Doesn't have, yeah.
So I'm saying
Very
that
Just making sure.
So-
We're talking about fantasy
Philly's
trades, right?
playing,
Yeah.
We're not talking about
Tennessee.
the Eagles
Yeah.
actually
No, I
trading
actually
him.
think the Eagles might. I mean,
Oh,
the
you
Eagles,
never know.
there's a lot of teams out there that are now no longer afraid of Vic. Everybody was afraid of him for a while. and
Niners.
Philly showed that
Niners.
he was a superstar.
Niners.
Yeah, we'll see.
What about Detroit? They're just dropping a quarterback a week.
Michael
Yeah.
Vick throwing to Michael Crabtree and Vernon Davis. That's all I have to say.
That'd be great.
That would be
And
awesome.
with Gore in the backfield.
Are you listening, Jed?
Yeah, he's not.
But I
No.
thought Smith
He
was
hasn't
the
listened all
savior.
year.
Really?
Yeah.
I tweeted him
You
a while ago. Tweeted
Smith?
Jed York.
Yeah.
All right, moving on.
All right.
Moving on, I'm going to actually mention a guy, not the greatest week last week, but Anthony Armstrong officially named the second starter for Washington.
Yeah.
We mentioned him 2 weeks ago before he had the great game. We talked about him a little bit last week. And, he still had a respectable game. He had like 50 yards, 5 catches, I think.
Yeah.
But he's officially now replaced Galloway in the lineup. So it looks
He's
like
the deep threat.
Yeah,
They're
he's
going
the deep
to-
threat.
Good, because Joey Galloway is now collecting Social Security.
And, McNabb, over his career, you've seen his legs kind of not be as good as they used to be. But the one thing that seems to be as good as ever is that he's got a cannon arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
he
yeah.
can get the ball downfield. That doesn't seem to be a problem at all.
Definitely.
Yeah, and Armstrong's going to be in there for more plays now, even though he was pretty much de facto like number 2 receiver for the last couple weeks anyways. But now officially, probably get a few more plays, give him another chance or two to get that long ball.
And we're mentioning a lot here that we tell you about these guys before other people. We will tell you about a guy 2 weeks before we think he might actually be a factor. But the reason for that is then you're not worrying about what your position on the waiver wire is. You've got him. So if you picked up Chris Ivory in week 3, yeah, you were sitting him. But if you were a Pierre Thomas owner, you're glad you had him, and you're real glad you have him now.
Yeah.
Same
And if
thing
you're
with
sitting on that
Armstrong.
waiver wire and it trains every week and you're consistently like me, you're number 4 on the waiver wire priority. It seems like every week I'm number 4. I always go for 3 guys. They always get picked up. So then you're stuck, like, if you need to pick up a player, trying to find someone who's not that big name that someone accidentally dropped the week before, like Thomas Jones.
But that number 4 spot's really nice for getting the best kicker available on wires. So you probably have great kickers.
Yeah,
in
my
there, too.
kicker every week, I killed. But
Yeah.
Well, having great kickers is
Except
really
that one
exciting.
league of yours.
Another guy that we mentioned who's just been stellar has been Ryan Terrain, and I actually have learned how to say his name. Went to a speech therapist. Ryan
Nice.
Terrain, there he is. Guy
There he is.
Runs
Yeah.
like a freight train.
And he actually carried that Bills player in the air, parallel to the ground, for a solid 20 yards.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible.
That's amazing.
I was
is a
actually
lot-
more impressed with the Bills player than I was with
Great,
his work.
great
Yeah. The
core work.
levitation was pretty
Yeah.
good.
Great ab and core work by that Bills linebacker there.
Yeah.
By the way, we said it last week that Terrain is now their starting running back regardless of what happens with Portis. I think when Portis comes back, he is a better blocker, so he'll probably be a third down back. But Terrain is the man now in Washington, and I think will be for a while.
No doubt.
Last guy I'm going to talk about is Big Ben. We told you about him before, 2 weeks before he was coming back. Told you to trade for him, told you to pick him up if somebody was dumb enough to drop him. He was great. I mean, and he'll be great going forward.
And I got one more guy for you because I mentioned him just last week.
Oh.
And 2 weeks ago. Mike Thomas from Jacksonville. Busted out last week, 8 catches for 88 yards. Didn't have a touchdown, and I know Mercedes Lewis is definitely a target down there. But if you're looking for a receiver on Jacksonville, I don't think Mike Sims Walker is the answer right now. I think it's definitely Mike Williams.
Yeah, and
Mike Thomas, excuse me, Mike
Mike
Thomas.
Thomas is much more consistent.
He is.
Yeah.
Sims Walker is one of those boom bust guys. He'll win you a game and then he'll lose you 3.
But like your Miles
Yep.
Austin.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, exactly. Like a Miles Austin, very much like a Miles. You should get Sims Walker. Maybe they'll bust on different weeks.
Should.
Should. All right, that does it for We Told You So. We're going to move on to what's happening in the world of football and how it affects your fantasy football team. It is time for Jabber and the Fantasy News.
No, you're not.
All right.
They can
No,
hear you
Mark.
through that. You're not
Big
muted.
news. We are on. Shut up,
Can't
guys.
see me.
Thank you, fellas.
I can't be hard.
All righty. Fantasy news. Well, first of all, a lot of fantasy owners suffering a lot of injuries this week. A lot of hard hitting on the field. Concussions a big concern for the NFL. 6 players suffered concussions from hard hits this week. NFL says they're going to address this situation. They might add suspensions to the fines, but then they didn't suspend anybody. They just fined these guys. Yet to see a decision on that. I'm hoping they make the right decision and do suspend some of these players. But how is this going to affect a lot of fantasy owners?
Well, the league has been moving more and more towards making it much more favorable for wide receivers and quarterbacks. As a Dan Marino fan, I will say, if he played in this era, he would have thrown 60 touchdown passes.
Sure he
because
would.
they're not letting guys chuck guys on the line of scrimmage anymore. I mean, sometimes, but they call them on a lot of that stuff. And now you're not allowed to hit a guy. The Desean Jackson hit, watch that hit. It's a totally legal, clean hit. Yeah, he hit him hard. But he did not go helmet to helmet. He just knocked the crap out of him, and it's football.
And they both
But the
got
other thing, these
concussions in
rules,
that.
these rules aren't exactly new rules. Like, you haven't been allowed to lead with your head.
Yes.
The idea is, like, if you're spearing someone with a helmet, you're not making a good tackle anyways.
Yeah.
Like, you look back at, look at great tacklers. Like, it's about arms. It's about getting someone wrapped up and getting them down to the ground. It's not about popping them really hard. How many
Well, but
times
it
do you
is if
see
you
a
knock the
guy
guy
go
down.
for an explosive hit, and pop a guy really hard, but then bounce off, not get him right, not get him down to the ground.
Yeah, but at the same time, you see guys who do pop a guy, ball comes out, it's a game changer.
Right.
And that's what I think a lot of defensive coordinators, and this is something the league isn't addressing. Defensive coordinators want these hits. Because guys get hit like that and they drop the ball, and the turnover is the touchdown of a defense.
Right.
That is what
But
you're aiming
it also
for.
can lead to an offensive touchdown by just poor tackling. Leading with the helmet and going with a big hit is not exactly always a great tackle. Maybe you're going to knock the ball loose, but maybe you give up the first down, you give up a touchdown.
The Harrison hit on Massaquoi, that was brutal and wrong. That was, look, at the end of the day, all these guys, even though they're on different teams, they're all NFL guys, and they should have a camaraderie around them. Yes, hit hard, play hard. When we're on the field, we're enemies, but you don't want to hurt anybody. And that hit, I mean, Massaquoi will probably be okay in the long run, but that was vicious. That could have really done some permanent damage, and it was unnecessary.
Great.
You know?
All right, players getting back from injury. Another big story this week. We've got Darren McFadden is coming back. Matthew Stafford has looked very sharp in practice, they said. He's coming back. Michael Vick is coming back next week. How to play this, JJ?
Well, I mean, Stafford's the one that intrigues me the most because they've really really put up good passing numbers. And if you're lucky enough, if you had the spot to just stash him, I mean, Sean Hill played great. I don't even remember who the third string's name is right now. Who is it?
Stanton. Drew Stanton.
Yeah. Threw well.
Yeah,
their
he did well,
team,
too.
and Calvin Johnson could, you could quadruple cover him. He's still coming down with the ball.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so Stafford coming back. Vic is one that Cobb plays well. I don't know if Vic gets his job back, but Stafford's a guy who they're desperately in need of a quarterback. That team keeps chugging along offensively. They're not getting the wins, but they're in close games. They're in shootouts. He's a guy who could come back and possibly put up big numbers right away.
Yeah, and Stafford's on a bye this week, but we're telling you about him right now
because
this is a great time to pick him up. If you need a quarterback, pick him up now. He's going to be the starter for the rest of the year. He's more talented than Hill and Stanton, but that doesn't always necessarily mean better numbers. McFadden, I think, takes back over this week. I think the big news about Bush not having a good week is there's now no controversy there. I mean, as soon as McFadden's 100%, he's the guy, Bush is the backup. 2 weeks ago, I wasn't so sure.
Adam. I'm not so sure. Cable has said unequivocally, and he's stuck to it, that they're going to split carries.
But even he said that when McFadden was blowing up too, and Michael Bush would still get a carry here on the one game, but he only got 6 or 7 touches, whereas McFadden got 20-something touches when they were both fully healthy.
Every coach says they're going to share the ball, and there's going to be two of us.
They don't want to piss off
they're not going to be like, hey,
Yeah.
that guy's going to just go ride the pines because we've got our lead horse right here. Coaches saying we're going to share I don't buy it.
I think
Don't
it happens
please
and it doesn't happen. I don't know.
When was the last coach who said they were going to share?
I'm looking at Mark's
that really saw
team.
it?
He's got Michael Bush.
I do have Michael Bush, but that's not why I said that.
Oh, now I see.
That's not why I said that.
It's that blind
I
faith
said that
you
because
have.
it's
hope
not that.
against
It's
hope.
that I'm also looking to trade for McFadden, but I'm a little concerned.
Yep.
I'm concerned that I'm not getting a guy back who's
Well,
going
but
to
if you've got Bush and you trade for McFadden, that's a great trade because regardless of what happens, you end up with a running back that should be getting
Sure, unless they're actually splitting carries.
Yeah.
And in which case, I'm screwed.
Now,
I'm not going to play both running
But
backs.
even in a split situation, McFadden, I think, is the better guy because Bush is a put his head down, run straight ahead guy. McFadden gives you a little bit of everything. He can go out as a wide receiver. He's great out of the backfield, catching passes. He's great as a running back. He's got a little more of the complete game, so he'll play more downs because situationally he's a better third down back.
Quite possibly. Quite possibly. All right. The trade deadline is passed. No major surprises. How does that affect your fantasy strategy, Adam? Anything you were thinking about that you were hoping would happen? Any guys on your bench?
One guy actually. When I write, I usually write this up initially on Tuesdays, and one of our fantasy news stories was going to be I thought McGahee was going to get traded. Didn't happen. I was a little surprised by that because the Ravens don't need him, and there's a lot of teams out there that need a running back. McGahee's a talented guy and could easily be the number one in a number of teams.
Sure.
They didn't trade him, so. But that's the biggest thing that affects. It makes the game a little easier going forward. Because you're not going to have things like Randy Moss getting traded, which completely changes two dynamics in two teams and two big teams in the NFL. That's not going to happen for the rest of the year. Teams are going to stabilize a little bit. Jackson obviously didn't get traded. We'll talk about him in our next story. But
also, if you were holding on to a guy that's kind of a backup, splitting carries, or with the anticipation of like him being traded, so that your guy could then step up. Like like looking at Green Bay. I mean, now they're going forward with Jackson, and that's it.
Right.
He's their guy.
That's shocking to me.
Yeah.
Because Jackson, Kuhn, those guys, I mean, they've been barely serviceable. They've been just enough for them to be okay. But look at Green Bay. They lost last week. They're nowhere near as good as everybody thought they were going to be.
They've lost the last 2 weeks. They haven't really had a solid running game.
Yeah, and it's the running game that's killing them. Everybody's putting 6 in coverage, and they know.
Well, let's move to a story that's not a trade, but very well could have been, right? Similar kind of situation.
Yeah.
Vincent Jackson will not play till week 12, but he has reported, and he is going to play. I think the obvious implications here are, first of all, Vincent Jackson is quite a talent. So, and the other thing to me is, how does this, affect Malcolm Floyd owners? And is it really going to make Vincent Jackson the commodity that he was last year? I happen to think no. My opinion is that Malcolm Floyd has established himself as somebody who can get open and create and get a lot of space between him and the defender downfield. A lot of his catches I've seen, he's just literally standing out there all alone. The guy's fast, he runs great routes, he's strong, he's a solid player. I mean, at the beginning, a few weeks ago, you remember, I hadn't really seen much of him, and I kind of didn't have an opinion. Now I think this guy is a really, really good receiver.
He's taken this time with Jackson being gone to develop the rapport with Phillip Rivers.
Right.
And now he's able to
I'm not so sure that Vincent Jackson, if he comes back in week 12, even though, like you guys mentioned in the pre-show today, that he could be a good somebody for the playoffs, a good player for your fantasy playoffs, I'm not so sure that he develops that quickly for anybody's playoff run. And Malcolm Floyd owners, you got to be a little careful, but at the same time, stick by the guy.
To me, the bigger danger is San Diego will pull kind of an Al Davis thing and just not play him. Because they're pissed about what he did. And if by the time he's able to play, if San Diego is out of playoff contention, which they might be, they're really starting to they just lost to St. Louis.
Yeah.
I mean, they
St.
might not
Louis
be
is
around.
a good team this year, though.
They're better
a
than we
good
thought.
team.
Yeah, they're a good. I mean, they're not they're not going to be 8-8, but they play competitive against almost everybody except oddly the Detroit Lions. Go figure.
Right.
But Vincent Jackson, I like him. I think if you can pick him up or if you can trade for him, I think he's a guy who can help you going into the playoffs. I do think he'll step right back in. I don't think it's going to hurt Floyd. I think it's going to hurt Jackson. Jackson's not going to be what he was last year. But
Yeah, well, I think the big thing, and I agree with Mark, even though we don't share the same camera anymore, we share the same view on this.
It's just criminal. This is weird.
It's terrible.
We had to separate them.
And Claire
but I
looks
agree.
like a guy with glasses.
I know. But I agree. I don't think he's going to step in and be the number 1 wide receiver. I think he's going to step in and be a number 2 wide receiver. And I think if you're expecting him to put up the same numbers he put up last year, I think you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah, but however, I will say this. He is a better red zone target. Physically, he's bigger, he's taller, he's got that leaping ability. Gates is starting to have some injury issues. If Gates isn't around and Jackson comes back, he's the red zone guy because he's just bigger than Floyd. Floyd will still get those deep balls, he'll still score that way, but in the red zone, it'll be Jackson's team if Gates isn't around. So definitely worth a bench spot if you can pick him up.
Yeah.
One other thing that I wanted to cover real quick, if you don't mind if I grab this real quick.
Please, Adam.
You'll see that I'm wearing my USC jersey. My dad will love that, by the
Wah,
way.
wah,
Do USC
I took
players
Mark to
qualify?
USC Washington and his team beat mine.
Yeah, Locker,
The biggest
you're the
regret
man.
of my life. But anyway, the reason I'm wearing it is there is an agent, and I've forgotten his name, but he's coming out with a report in which he talks about all the players that he's paid over the years in college football and right now. And as a USC fan who has been taunted since this Reggie Bush incident, just abused
Oh, you're so tortured.
by UCLA fans, let me tell you that the team that he has paid more players on in the last 10 years is the UCLA Bruins. So you're paying your players too, and they still can't beat us.
Aha!
All right, just had to get that off my chest.
Great.
Feel better.
And this is going to affect your fantasy football. Oh, no, it's not.
Not at all. That was purely selfish, and it felt
Very
fantastic.
self-indulgent. It was
All
like
right.
giving a shout-out to
Oh,
someone.
That was a great,
All right, fight
great
on. Okay,
outburst
so
of bitterness.
I'm giving a shout out to my peeps in the Whack-'em League today. What's up, boys?
all right, so that does it for fantasy news. We're going to move on to the next segment where we tell you what's going on with all these injuries and how it's going to affect your fantasy squad, when you can expect these guys back. It's time for the doctors in. I like this graphic. All right. Ingrid, do we have Ingrid?
Hi, guys.
Hey, Ingrid. All right, great. We're going to start with our first guy. Obviously, we talked about him a little bit earlier. Desean Jackson took a big hit. They're saying it's a severe concussion. You know, what do you have to say about where he stands?
Jackson suffered what is being described as a vicious blow to the head during last Sunday's game, causing a severe concussion. We don't know his specific symptoms, but I don't think he's been back to practice this week. Again, as we've talked about in previous sessions, the evaluation of a concussion and whether or not a player is able to return to play really depends on their clinical exam, and it will go day by day. He's scheduled to be examined on Friday, and if he has no neurological symptoms, no headache, no mental confusion at that time, he may be able to play. I doubt he's going to be able to play next Sunday. They have a bye the next week, so he may be back to playing the following week, giving him 2 weeks to recover. But since his injury seems to have been severe, hopefully they're getting a head CT or an MRI to evaluate his injuries. But I would definitely say he's not a player for this Sunday's game.
All right. Well, we know that he's going to be out this Sunday for sure. They've got a bye week after that. As Ingrid said, no sooner than week 9, could possibly be longer because he was having a lot of unfortunate symptoms from that rather large hit. So obviously this isn't a guy you're going to drop, but this makes Macklin a big guy now. I mean, Macklin came in after he got injured and had a huge game.
Yeah.
Great game.
Oh, yeah.
So I obviously going to hang on to him, but I hope this doesn't end up being out for the season or anything like that. It could be. So keep an eye on that. The next guy we're going to talk about, obviously one of the biggest players in fantasy at any position, that's Antonio Gates, tight end of San Diego. He's got turf toe or toe sprain. I believe they're very closely related. He's questionable, now doubtful. What do we do with Gates, Ingrid?
So Antonio Gates suffered a turf toe injury last Sunday, and just to review, turf toe sounds like a fungus, but it's not. It's actually a dislocation of the big toe at the base of the big toe where it joins the rest of the foot, and it's injury to the ligaments and the joint capsules. It can be quite severe, and even though it's just a little toe dislocation, this can be a career-threatening injury depending on how bad it is. It impairs the player's ability to push off of that foot and actually run. So depending on the severity of his injury, he could be out as long as 3 to 4 weeks or as short as 1 to 2 weeks. I doubt he will be able to play in the next game, given that he hasn't been practicing and has been walking around in a boot and unable to bear weight.
All right, so that's big news right there. I mean,
Yeah.
Antonio Gates is, I mean, he's better than most wide receivers in fantasy points. He's just a
He's pretty
monster.
much the main threat.
Yeah. And that's going to change a lot of the dynamic in San Diego. There's a guy we're going to talk about on the wire that I think makes for a great pickup because you've got Gates hurting. Floyd is also hurting a little bit. We're going to talk about him soon. But Gates being out, that's going to affect a lot of teams. And I remember a couple years ago he got turf toe, and he played through some of it. And he just wasn't the same kind of player.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the reason why he's such a great red zone target is also because he's just got a great leap. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like what you're saying is going to be effective.
Yeah, he was a basketball player in college, and he was a good one too. He was recruited by the NBA, who decided to go to the NFL, and that leaping ability has done him well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those hoopers.
Yeah.
Gonzalez, Peppers.
Yeah, they're all great tight ends. Well,
Tight ends
defensive
and,
ends.
All right.
So the next guy we're going to talk about, this will be pretty quick. David Garrard got a concussion. This is happening a lot. We talked about it earlier. 6 players had concussions this week. What are we doing with Garrard this week?
David Garrard is another one who suffered a concussion this week, and he's quoted to have said, "I don't feel my thoughts coming together as quickly as they normally do," so obviously that's concerning. It's hard to tell, again, whether or not he'll be able to play on Sunday, given that symptom. That's certainly not back to his baseline, or hopefully that's not his baseline. So he'll be re-examined by a neurologist on Friday to see whether or not he's totally back to normal, and if he's not, he won't be allowed to play per the 2009 NFL concussion guidelines. Again, it's hard to say, but given that he feels like he has mental status changes and mental slowing, I wouldn't bet on him playing this Sunday. But again, we'll see what the doctor says on Friday.
All right, so we'll have to check back in with you guys on Twitter, stupid the number 4 football, let you guys know what's going on with Garrard. My opinion, personally, drop him. I don't. It doesn't sound to me like he's going to play this weekend, and unless you literally have no other options.
Yeah, and he's been a marginal.
I mean, he's been good one week, and then he's one of those kind of guys.
He's no Sam Bradford.
Yeah, if dropping him means you're losing your starting quarterback, you should have taken up knitting anyway.
Wow.
So I'm just going to say that.
He was my starting quarterback last week, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that on your minus
Next
one.
week it'll be Stupid for Knitting, starring J.J. Mays. All right, so another QB. This one actually with a broken left forearm.
Yikes.
That has got to hurt. It's not his throwing arm. It's Sean Hill out of Detroit. It's not going to affect things too much because they've got the bye this week and Stafford will be back afterwards. But, let's find out how he's doing with that broken forearm.
Sean Hill had surgery on Monday to repair a left broken forearm that's in his non-dominant, non-throwing hand, which is a good thing. I couldn't find any specifics as to what bone he broke, but just going by statistics, the most commonly broken bone in the forearm is the distal radius. So there are 2 bones in the forearm, the radius and the ulna. And the distal radius is the part of the radius that connects up to the wrist, and it's often injured secondary to fall on an outstretched hand, which he had. He was tackled, and he used that arm to brace himself, and he probably broke his distal radius. Again, it's in his non-dominant hand, so he had surgery. They probably put in a couple of pins to stabilize the fracture. But, you still need that hand, the non-dominant hand, to catch and prepare the ball to throw, even though he's not a catcher. He's a quarterback, but I doubt that he'll be able to play this Sunday. I would bet that he's out for at least 3 to 4 weeks while that arm recovers.
All right, so Sean Hill, again, another guy that we're going to say go ahead and drop him. I mean, Stafford's back.
Sure.
He's a backup again, and he's on bye this week, and it doesn't look like he'll be back for a while anyway. He's been great, but Sean Hill, maybe San Francisco will bring you back.
Yeah, now we're talking. Yay! I'm as
buddy.
excited as my
Such is the
6-year-old
life
nephew.
of a backup quarterback.
Sean Hill with a broken forearm, still better than Alex Smith.
David Carr, come on. They've been shouting for him. He's going to get his chance.
I think
want him.
David
We
Carr
want
is
him.
still suffering from the concussions he got in Houston.
He's
He's still suffering from it.
He's in shell shock.
Yeah, he's
years
still
later.
having trouble putting thoughts together.
Houston, years later, we still have a problem.
I think
All
he's
right.
probably still getting sacked, too, from the Houston years.
Yeah, I think once a week, somebody goes over to his house, Mario Williams just sacks him to remind him who owned him.
Well, you see him on the sidelines, he just falls down inexplicably.
Yeah, it's like he's got PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, right? All right, so the next guy said we were going to talk about him. We talked about him a little bit earlier. Malcolm Floyd has got a hamstring injury. He is doubtful for this week. It's said to be minor. Let's see what the doc has to say about Malcolm Floyd.
Malcolm Floyd had a hamstring injury. He's describing it as minor. And again, hamstring injuries are graded 1 to 3, 1 being just partial tear of some of the fibers and 3 being a complete tear of all of the muscle fibers. He's probably more like a 1. They're saying that he's doubtful to play on Sunday, but I think the fact that he's really downplaying the injury and saying it's minor, he might be up for playing Sunday, and if not, then the next week.
All right, so this is an interesting situation. We've got Gates. Gates is probably not going to be playing. I would say he's not going to be playing. Floyd is doubtful, although it sounds like he might be able to push back. Do you think the coaches try to get him back in the lineup now that they're hurting without Gates?
I think they do. I mean, I think if he can play, he's playing.
They're in desperation mode.
They're running out of options.
Yeah.
They're
Who do they play this week?
Who did they play this
Good
week?
question.
All over it.
Good that
They
none
are-
of us know the answer to that.
Yeah.
That guy?
I set us up for failure.
It's that guy.
Stat guy.
They're playing New England. That's
Well,
sad.
if they can't beat St. Louis, who can they beat, right?
And let's see, who are they up against following that? They're
they're
going
bye
to
week,
Tennessee, then Houston, then they're bye.
Ooh, week 10 bye week. All right.
They're screwed.
Yeah.
And they're in the position that they got to start winning games.
San Diego seems to do this every year.
Yeah.
They seem to come out slow and play hard at the end of the year and make the playoffs. But this time it's because of injuries.
Yeah.
The last year was more of a mental thing.
It was like
injuries.
lackadaisical, and then they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, we should win games."
Yeah, we should go to the
We
playoffs.
should,
Oh,
yeah,
what-
you guys want? And who here wants to play in January? Anybody?
Yeah.
And then they were
Anybody?
like,
Oh, I didn't know. Oh, you voted no the other day. Okay, fine.
That was Vincent Jackson
we'll do
voting
it.
no.
Right.
But yeah, this year it's different. This year they're hurt.
All right. Well,
You know?
we're going to do something a little bit that I don't like to do. We're going to do a kicker in the injury report. The reason is he's a guy that most people hold on to on their teams. He's one of those 10 guys that are always in somebody's team. I know. It's Nate Keating, also of San Diego. I'm about to fall asleep, but Ingrid, trying to keep us awake with some better analysis on Nate Keating's groin injury.
Eggs and ham.
So Nate Keating had surgery during the off-season to repair a groin strain, and that same groin muscle is bothering him now. Obviously not a good injury to have for a kicker, and the fact that he's had it already surgically repaired means that probably the initial injury was a full thickness tear, and the fact that he has it pain still now probably means that this is going to be a chronic problem for him now and in the future. I doubt he'll be able to start this week. I think he should probably rest it up as long as he is able, and then play when he feels better. But again, given that he already had surgery to repair this and now it's still bothering him, I think it'll probably give him problems for the rest of the season and years to come potentially.
So here's
Years to come.
Years
Years
to
to
come.
come.
Years to
Oh,
come.
that makes me feel terrible for not wanting to talk about him. Now
I feel kind of bad about.
I feel a little
the nap
guilty
joke.
because
Yeah.
you
I
know,
managed to
little
pull
boy
through and
Nate.
stay awake.
Really?
That's
Yeah, I
groin
was
injury,
dozing
though, guys.
off a little bit there.
Kickers
No.
are getting a lot of.
Groin injuries. Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously very important to a kicker to not be sore in your groin.
Sure,
Yeah.
because they want to have kids.
Ow.
Yeah, exactly. So
You're right.
they
I
can
feel.
procreate.
I also feel guilty.
So the thing,
You should.
the reason we brought him up is a lot of people will do something like say, well, I'm going to pick up a kicker and I'm going to hang on to Nate Keating because he's always been so. Don't do that. Just drop him. If somebody else picks him up, let them waste a bench spot on a kicker.
He's a
Drop
kicker.
him, get rid of him. He's not playing for a few weeks at least. Might be the rest of the year. Get rid of him. All right, Ingrid, thank you very much for your analysis. We appreciate it as always. Thank you. Thank you.
You're the best, Ingrid. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Good luck.
All right, we have a couple more guys that we're going to cover here real quick. These were all late breaking, and they're all on the same team. One team seems to be everybody's getting injured, and that is Indianapolis.
That's right.
Dallas Clark has a hand or a wrist injury. Reports are that it's serious, and he's likely to miss time after the bye, and that his season might be over.
Great for my team.
Yeah, if you don't have Dallas Clark, it's great for everybody, because the guy with Dallas Clark, that's a solid tight end.
Huge.
A guy named Jacob, and I'm probably going to kill this. Tame, I don't know, Tamme.
That's a tough one.
somebody tell us how to pronounce
I'm
it.
going to give him a pass on that one.
Yeah, I give him a pass.
You're going to be passing that one, but
Pass,
not on
pass,
Kolb.
I would just call him Tammy.
Tammy.
It's probably what it is.
Tammy. He's going to start in his place. I don't think he's
Tammy,
worth a
Tammy
pickup.
Jacobs.
Yeah, I don't think this guy's worth a pickup. And the reason is whenever Clark has been hurt before, and Peyton just starts throwing more to the wide receivers.
Yeah.
Because Dallas Clark is a wide receiver who's a little thicker and plays tight end. And that's just the way he plays.
And he wears Tommy Vardell's number.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. So, I would say this is good for Colts wide receivers. They're going to get a lot more looks.
Sure.
Especially Garcon. And the reason for that is
You know
because
what?
also
Do we need to mention this?
Austin Collie.
Damn it!
This broke like 15 minutes before the show. He had hand surgery. He's out at least a few weeks.
Oh, my stomach.
Now they're going into a bye, but Garcon coming out of that is going to be huge. It's now Reggie Wayne, Pierre Garcon. He's now the number 2 guy on the Colts, which is as good as being a number 1 anywhere else.
Just
so
awful.
Garcon's
Especially
gonna be
with the
huge.
running back, like
the worst
the
news
massive
all week.
amounts of running back injuries. Like, yeah, this is going to be that.
I will
ball's going
say
in.
this also bodes very unwell for the Bears because every team that plays the Skins ends up having a slew of players get injured.
Yeah.
It's like the Black Death lands on a team, not because of the team, it's the Skins themselves necessarily. They just happen to be the carrier.
Apparently they have a new defensive coordinator. He's a voodoo witch doctor.
Yes.
And he's trying a whole new scheme, and it's working.
Oh, nice. That's
Yeah.
Christine
It doesn't
O'Donnell's
win the
brother,
game.
right?
It just,
Yeah,
I
it's
think- I
not a
think it's
win-loss
Christine
thing.
O'Donnell's brother.
Yeah.
He's great.
Also injured there, speaking of running backs, Joseph Adai has a shoulder injury. He's probably not going to be playing in Week 9. They've got the bye. I mean, in week 8, they've got the bye week this week. So Donald Brown will get his shot, and he's disappointed in the past.
Because I've got Donald Brown.
But he's disappointed in the past.
Some running backs got to work for me.
So basically,
One of them.
I think that we all know Donald Brown will not succeed because he's on Jabber's team.
I gotta say, I watched this guy. He played in.
Or if he was on my team, I'd say the same thing.
I believe
great, though.
he played for in Connecticut, another Huskies team. Played in Connecticut, at UConn, and he was awesome. And when the Colts drafted him, I don't know if you guys remember this, a couple years ago, everybody was really down on a die. They thought Brown was going to come in as the rookie, and his problem has been he's not good at picking up the blitz. And when you play for Peyton Manning, you pick up the blitz or you don't play.
Yeah.
Period.
Sure.
So hopefully he's had a couple years to get a little better at that.
Pick it up, Don.
And he'll get his shot.
Pick it up.
We'll talk about him in the next segment. Now we've talked about news, we've talked about injuries, and now we're going to tell you who to pick up to fill these holes. And that
Do it.
That's time for On the Wire. Do it.
Do it.
It's like weird science right there.
It is. I like it.
Oh, this is a weird science.
It really is.
It is.
It is. It's
Man, pat me on the back. That was a good one.
I was.
Thank you.
very proud.
Oh, I get 2.
Good.
That was more of a
All
rub.
So I'm going to skip over the first guy because we got a little news that changes that. We'll come back to him at the end. We're going to talk about a guy. If you've got Gates, if you've got any tight ends that aren't performing for you, we're going to recommend Ben Watson in Cleveland. I've always said this, said it over and over again. You got a rookie QB, the tight end is probably going to do well. Tight ends are security blankets for quarterbacks. They're the dump-off pass. They're the, oh, my God, this guy's about to rip my head off, and you throw it to the tight end or the running back out of the backfield. And Ben Watson's been great. He's been incredible this year. I mean, he's really put up decent numbers. He's a top 10 tight end.
He's B-dubs, man.
Yeah, and nobody's got him. Even now, we usually don't recommend anybody who's not available in at least 80% of leagues, but he's available in 65%. He's a top 10 tight end, and he will be going forward because Colt McCoy is now the guy in Cleveland.
Yeah.
So
nice, safe throws.
Yep. And let me
middle.
tell you, when you got a tight end who's getting the little 5 and 6 yard catches, they might not get you touchdowns, but they're going to get you consistent performance. If you can get 10 points out of your tight end every week, you're way ahead of everybody else. Next guy we're going to talk about, speaking of Green Bay, James Stark, who is their rookie running back. He's been injured most of the year.
Well, he's still on the PUP list.
Yeah, but they're saying he's coming off here pretty soon. Maybe not this week. Might be next week. We try to give you guys a week in advance here. We try to give them to you before you have to fight for them.
And I think he's definitely a guy you want to keep your eye on. If you got scout him as soon as, I'm pretty sure it sounds like what they're talking about. If they do decide to activate him, he's probably going to go from being on the physically unable to perform to the starter.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if they decide that their running game is poor enough that they need to bring him in and not give him that whole year because then it changes the salary structure.
And from what I've heard, he's not off the PUP list yet.
He's
but
not.
They're saying they're taking him off this week.
They've been back and forth about it. I've been watching him.
Okay.
And it's basically like if he comes off, he's going to start. What the more you hear out of Green Bay, it sounds like if they decide to activate him off of that, then he will be a starter.
Yeah.
And I
So
think
you're saying that one more of my running backs is completely obsolete?
yeah, it could be.
But Brandon Jackson's been obsolete since week 2, and we learned, wow, he's not any good.
Well, but if he runs well against Minnesota, I don't know whether they activate Stark. If he has another poor game,
He's not going to run well against Minnesota.
you'd be surprised at
D.
who can run well against Minnesota this year.
You know what really bothers me about the whole Brandon Jackson Green Bay thing, and the thing is, I'll take it, right? Because he's on my team. But what bugs me is that he's actually averaging like a good number of yards per carry, and he's only carrying the ball 7, 9, 10, 12, 11 times a game. Well, if you're not committed to the run, you're not going to run for that many yards.
And you're not letting him get into a groove.
Right. So I kind of feel like they
say.
say the Brandons are like, what's his face? Coach of Green Bay.
McCarthy.
Right,
Yeah.
right, McCarthy. He says they're committed to him, but they don't commit to the run.
Yeah.
So it's not being about committed to a guy; it's about committing to the running game. And the fact is, he's rushed for 9 for 33 a couple of weeks ago, and nine carries, 10 for 115 yards against the Skins, and 12 for 53 against Miami. Those are not bad numbers.
Yeah.
He also had another 30 yards receiving. So I kind of feel like.
So what you're saying is no matter who gets in there, if they're not committed to the run, you can't expect them to have 100 yards.
Exactly. I can't expect that at all. What I really think is going to happen is They don't want to run Jackson because they don't think he can do it 20 times a game, but they still are going to give him his 10 to 12 carries a game. And I think what they'll end up doing is they'll end up committing overall to the run, but not to one particular guy. And I think you're definitely looking at a very even split in a running back by committee. Unless, of course, this guy, Chris Ivory's the situation and completely blows up.
Yeah.
But I'm not so sure. He's coming off the PUP list. It's kind of late. He hasn't played yet in the NFL, right? So, I don't know. Could go either way. Could go either way, JJ.
And also in the Green Bay situation, it's all about opportunity with guys like this. He's available in 96% of leagues, so I can guarantee you almost all of you can pick him up.
Yeah.
And we don't know. He might not be good. You're right. He might be terrible.
He might, and
he's
he might
going
never
to
come.
get
He might not
opportunity.
come off that list.
He might not. He might not. But he's somebody to watch, and especially if you're hurting at running back. You know.
I think he's someone to watch. And if you've got the roster spot, if they activate him,
pick him up.
Pick him up if you got the spot to watch him.
Yeah.
You know.
Drop Nate Keating, pick up James Stark.
Please.
Because he's got more of a chance to do something better for you.
Plural. He's got an S at the end. I know, you can't get it right. I just had to.
It's Stulk. I'm going to put an L in his name now.
Just call him Stulk. Right, great.
All right. Next guy is Denario Alexander. It looks like everybody was wrong. Nobody was talking about this guy. Everybody was wrong about who steps in for Mark Clayton. It's this guy, Denario Alexander. Had a great game. He was targeted more than anybody else by Sam Bradford. He looks like he might actually end up being the guy in St. Louis. I still think Amendola will be a good player. He'll be more of a Wes Welker
Yeah, he'll be the
player.
Welker of the team.
Yeah,
he's going to get a lot of.
By the way, that is the most commonly used phrase in fantasy football. Like Eddie Royale is the Welker of Denver.
Yeah,
like everybody wants a Welker. Which tells you how good Wes Welker is. He's available in 94% of leagues. So if your waivers haven't processed or if he's still out there, definitely grab him if you need a wide receiver. Really like that guy a lot.
You know, and we've seen things similar with rookie quarterbacks before. When you have a rookie quarterback come in, they're in the practice squad, they're not always throwing the number one wide receiver.
Yeah.
You know, early in preseason when they're not sure if he's going to be their guy, they're throwing to somebody else, and then when they get in the game, they have a rapport. And they have a rapport with this guy who they spend a lot of practice time. They've got his timing down. They know how he runs routes.
They're more comfortable.
He's a really comfortable guy to throw to.
Yeah, and when you've got a rookie quarterback, even one that is as talented as Sam Bradford, and I believe Sam Bradford has the potential to be a Hall of Fame guy. I mean, he's really, really good.
Yeah. Jesus.
But even a guy like that, they limit his options. They like to limit his options. They like to make the game simpler for him so they can get some
shrink down the playbook.
Yeah.
I would present the opposite argument. Okay. Not that I believe it per se, but I would just pose this.
Just to be a dick about it.
If St. Louis, though, I agree with you about rookie quarterbacks, but most of the time, rookie quarterbacks play on teams that aren't as talented and aren't playing as well as the Rams. I feel like it's very possible that they could, because they're in a lot of these games, that they're more willing to take more chances with Bradford and to open up that playbook a little bit more. Yeah. So I think the other part of it is just look out for it going the opposite of like the Mark Clayton, he's my guy. Because now we're in week 6. Now the Rams are playing some good football. Now the Rams have an opportunity to win some of these games, and he's developing. I think they're more like a regular sort of mid-level team, you know what I mean, that is going to spread the ball around, and they do have options. Yeah. It's not like they just have one. A few years ago, Braylon Edwards is a great example.
Yeah.
Braylon Edwards was like the only guy on Cleveland, right?
Yeah.
And Derek Anderson, and who was it before him?
Charlie Fry.
But Charlie Fry
had a game and then was cut.
They just threw the ball to Braylon because he was the only guy who could do anything on that team. Now I sort of feel like with the Rams, I think it's a little bit different. I feel like they're a notch above what a Cleveland was a few years ago with rookie quarterbacks. So I completely agree that they like to develop and they pare things down.
Standard rookie quarterback.
He's not your standard rookie, and this is a team that has taken real exponential steps forward. So it could go either way, but don't be surprised if it goes either way.
Yeah, I agree. There's a guy who I put on this list late because Colley's injury came in so late, didn't have time to get typed up. That's Blair White. He is now the number 3 wide receiver in Indianapolis. He's available in 98% of leagues. He's available everywhere. Pick him up right now, even though he's on a bye. Get him before you have to worry about waivers. The reason for it is if Clark misses time, and it looks like he might, we know Colley's going to miss time. He's the number 3 wide receiver, and Clark's not there. He's going to get looks, and he did well early in the season when he was filling in for Garcon and Gonzalez. He got a touchdown. He had some balls. Peyton Manning likes the guy. He's a guy who can come out of nowhere. And
he's smart too. I mean, he told Peyton Manning, "Hey, the coverage is off on me.
Yeah.
Get it to me, and I'll get it.
And a guy like Manning likes a thinking wide receiver like that. Really likes a guy.
Definitely does.
Yeah. So it's
I think he's always had balls, though, Adam.
who?
Blair White.
Blair White? Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? He's not just getting balls now. I mean, he's always had a pair.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Now we're just looking for him to get more. But I'm not, because I want Austin Collie back. Austin, please come back soon. Please come back soon. I miss you.
We talked
Jabber
about
will go to your house and feed you soup to make sure you feel better.
Sure. I will prepare
Sing
a
you
basin of warm
songs.
water.
dab your forehead with a wet towel.
I'll dab.
Yeah, he doesn't
I'll dab,
care.
I'll jab.
He's got no
I'll do what I gotta
shame
do.
as long as you'll
I'm
play
moving
for
and
him.
shaking.
He'll do what he's got to do.
One piece of
Next guy we're going to talk about, another guy in Indy. Not as available as usual. Is only available in 50% of leagues, but Donald Brown. Pick him up if you can. Don't need to talk about him much more, but get that guy if you can. Mark, you're going to like this next suggestion.
Yay, it made the sheet.
I am actually going to recommend the San Francisco 49ers D for 1 week.
Oh.
Just 1 week.
Okay.
That's because
That's fine.
they're playing Carolina, and Carolina, Clausen's a rookie, and he's not as talented as Bradford. He's also not on a team with as much talent. It's painful. It leads to a lot of turnovers. I wouldn't be surprised if San Francisco returned an interception or a fumble for a touchdown.
Would be great. I could go 2 and 3 and 5, 3 and 4.
Nobody has them because everybody got so mad and dropped them because everybody thought they were going to be a
Because
top
they didn't
5
play
team.
well. Nobody has them because they didn't play well.
Yeah,
Not
right.
because they got angry.
But
and
they
like,
did last
You've
week.
disappointed me.
But
You
they did
betrayed
last
me.
week.
No, they were
They played
terrible.
well, but they for
Last
fantasy,
week they
last
held-
week
yeah.
they played well.
Last week they
And
played
I'll
well.
tell you right now, the 4 of us could stop Carolina. So San Francisco should have a
However,
good game.
does this is this Carolina's first win?
No.
I'm
No,
just
I don't think so.
No.
I wanted
No.
to deflate Mark a little bit.
You know what?
Yeah.
You know what?
You know what? I'm willing
That's
to go.
it. I'm BBMing Claire right now. They are being.
He's telling on you. He's telling mom on you. This
You know
is
what?
awesome.
This is terrible.
I'm going to go out on a ledge for a bet
probably
with you
watching.
this week, Mark.
What?
I'm going to say Carolina gets its first win. at San
Oh.
Francisco.
You are. I'm sorry. Can I get a little action here?
So we have
You are a
Carolina.
dick, JJ. A
Oh, look,
dick.
they got on the same camera again. Shocking.
Yeah.
We can't
we're
separate
sharing
these two.
again.
First game. Hey.
I will turn this show right back around.
All right, fine.
I'm saying this week's bet, I'm going to go way out on a limb.
Oh, we're PBRing right now?
We're PBRing it.
Done. Pinky bet. Rock it out right here.
Oh, my
You
God.
saw it here, folks. Niners will beat the Panthers. Another 12-pack of PBR. I got a Subway sandwich off this D-bag. And I got a 12er
He's got
coming
beer
from...
and a sandwich.
I do. I got beer and a
Right.
sandwich. I'm going to have a case after this week.
Another guy we talked about just a little bit, who I'm going to recommend as a keeper league special, Colt McCoy in Cleveland. Now they were playing Pittsburgh, so his numbers didn't look that good, but they were playing Pittsburgh, and he was decent out there. He's not the reason they lost. They lost because they were playing what, in my opinion, is the best team in the league in Pittsburgh. He had a good game. He was solid. He made good throws. He didn't make big mistakes. One interception was his fault. The other was a tip ball. I really like him. I think he's a guy going forward that could even be a good bye week fill-in. He's a guy that I think is going to become like the next Sean Hill of this year. They're always going to be throwing in Cleveland, and McCoy has the ability and the arm to do it.
You know, you were all...
His stats weren't bad for a first start
Against
ever.
Pittsburgh, I mean, it was great.
I'm always
23 for
looking for the
33
next Sean Hill.
attempts.
I got to tell you, that's my goal. Every August, I think, how am I going to find the next
But
Sean
think about
Hill?
it. Every
It's
year,
like a plate of
every
baby
year
back
in the
ribs.
playoffs, like every year in the last year, for example, Jerome Harrison came out of nowhere and was the reason certain guys won leagues. A lot of them.
Yeah,
sure.
Sean Green
Well, like
is another
Ernest
example.
Graham
He was the Orlando's Gary.
Yeah,
of,
exactly.
2009.
Orlando's Gary is a great example from a few years back. These are the kind of guys that can come in and out of nowhere win you 3 games and you get them for nothing. And especially if you're in a keeper league. Colt McCoy looks like he's got the tools to perform well for a long time. This last guy, I think, is going to be a real good pickup. He's only available in 62% of leagues, so get him if you can. Trade for him if you can. Patrick Creighton, wide receiver out of San Diego. You've got Nene hurting. You've got Floyd hurting. You've got Gates hurting. Jackson can't play. Patrick Creighton could go from number 5 wide receiver to Phillip Rivers' number 1 target in a week.
I think Buster Davis is also hurt
Amazing.
too.
Yeah, I mean, everybody else in that team's hurt, so Patrick Creighton might be the guy. I think San Diego's going to be coming from behind because they're so hurt. Rivers is a great quarterback, so this is a great guy to pick up, and if you can trade for him. Definitely try to go get him.
I have a new nickname, by the way.
What's your new
I just
nickname?
thought of it. Ready?
What?
Maurice Jones Blue. That's what people are going to be saying at the end of this season.
Yeah, he did.
Done.
Yeah, he's
Maurice Jones blew.
1 touchdown on the year so far, right?
Awful.
Yeah.
17 carries for 57
Hurting.
yards Monday night.
Yeah.
Pitiful. 19 for 84 the year before.
And there's no
the week
excuse for his
before.
play because he probably got paid in college because he played for the UCLA Bruins.
Sure he did.
Did it again.
You did it again.
But go back. It's also a week where we have a lot of wide receivers on bye week. We've got a lot of wide receivers hurt.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at, and it's like, I feel like I'm always talking because you never know. But Robert Meacham in New Orleans.
Sure.
has
Or
gotten
Devery
it.
Henderson, too.
Yeah.
I like
both those guys are.
They're good
just
in an
don't know who's gonna
emergency,
get-
but
yeah.
they're very boom or
Right.
bust.
No,
Those
no.
guys will have a great week and then completely disappear for a month.
Right.
And it's because Drew Brees is an incredible quarterback
works
and
to
spreads the
whoever's
ball like
open.
nobody else.
But
You
with
know.
the running game, it seems like the wide receivers are a little more open. If Ivory runs well, it opens up a little more opportunity. And he's a guy who's probably unowned in your league.
All right, great. And now those are all guys that ESPN will be recommending to you in 2 weeks, by the way, because that's generally how it happens.
Because we're that cool.
Yeah, we're way ahead of the curve.
Way ahead.
We're going to get into our next segment here where you guys can get in here, ask us lineup questions, ask us about particular guys. We will tell you if they are a smash hit, some guy to stash on your bench, or if they're absolute trash in smash, stash, or trash. And we'll hand it over to Colin, who's our stat guy, who's
right
controlling
here
who's,
this week.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like being
I know, it is weird.
working and doing all this at the same time. Our first one is Mike Tolbert, San Diego. It's kind of weird since Ryan Matthews is coming back.
Yeah, JJ, why don't you kick it off? Because it makes you uncomfortable to do so.
I would say, wow,
Man, the pressure's on.
that
The
makes me
pressure's on.
uncomfortable.
Do it.
That makes me
Do it.
uncomfortable.
Do
You
it.
go back to your table.
Kiss his finger. Kiss his
not the
finger.
boss
Back to your
of me.
back to your
You're not
Kiss
the
his
table.
boss.
finger.
I would strash him.
Strash him.
We
He's
don't have
he's
that
on
video.
the borderline
It's
of
been a week. I
stash and
can't. Oh, right.
trash.
Got it.
So again, the segment
And-
is smash, some of trash, some of the dash, but I don't know what it is anymore.
I would lean. But then with so many injuries on that team, who else gets the ball?
yeah, they might be going all running.
It might
from
be
here on
all
out.
him.
Yeah.
I definitely don't like him
I think you
as a
have to
start
stash.
unless you're desperate. But I would. Yeah, I guess you're right.
He'll be good
Stash
for
as opposed
red
to
zone
trash.
carries.
Yeah, he'll get the red zone short yardage. You're saying stash, right?
I'm saying stash because he's just the kind of guy that you don't want to lose the opportunity. You don't want to be scrambling to get him in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like if you can avoid, if you absolutely have to get rid of a guy. I mean, that's the thing too. Depends on who you have on your bench. And
if you have
going
Ryan
into these bye
Matthews-
weeks where a lot of teams are off.
Yeah, and if you have Ryan Matthews, you got to hang on to Tolbert.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
I mean, and here's the other thing: Ryan Matthews has yet to perform at his expected levels. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
he hasn't even had one really great game. He's had a
Not at
couple
all.
decent, okay games, but
Right.
nothing to write home about. I mean,
Yeah.
Tolbert could still take the job. Matthews is still coming off an injury. I mean, he's fine, but he seems to get a lot of injuries. So
And he doesn't write home enough anyway.
Stash.
His mom just
Yeah.
was in the chat room telling us that. he
Stash
doesn't
him.
write home.
ask. In fact, she's the one who
Stash
asked
him.
us about him. Yeah, definitely stash him. No. I said stash.
Come on!
On.
Bad direction. Bad direction.
That may be a sign, though. Maybe we should have said trash.
Wow.
Maybe
If he
the
does horrible,
TriCaster is telling us
Rune
to trash
obviously
him.
doesn't like him.
So
Rune
we
is
got
like,
three stashes.
if I had a
TriCaster
vote.
said trash.
Hate that guy so much. Next one, we actually have a either or option: Benjamin Watson or Tony Miyake.
Those are two guys.
Can I take this
love.
one?
Wait, I have to. Let me
Okay.
start this one just because I get to correct somebody else's pronunciation.
Great.
It's Tony Moiaki.
Moiaki.
That felt good. That
That was
Okay.
gorgeous.
That's a really good question. I'm going to say because of the style of play, I would go with Ben Watson right now. Although Moiaki would be just right behind him. So either they're
Give
very
him another
close.
year, and I think he'll be.
Oh, Moiaki's going to. I mean, it's just, Matt Castle is not a guy who locks onto his tight ends. We learned that when he played with Gonzalez a little bit. Like, he played with him for a little bit. And
At the end of the day, I'm sorry.
No, I'm
I
good.
would say at the end of the day, Kansas City, it seems to me to be a much bigger ball control offense. They're about solid defense, except last week. They're about playing good defense, successfully or unsuccessfully, and they're about ball control. They're about running. That's why you're seeing Thomas Jones get these kind of carries. Him and Jamal Charles both are getting a lot of PT,
they're the
a
little
lot of
Patriots.
carries. So I think at this point, Moiaki had a I think he had like 3 catches last week for like 25 yards. Or something.
Yeah,
Not very good.
He had his most disappointing week since we recommended him.
Look, it's getting to that point, depending on your record, where you need consistency. And right now, as Adam mentioned before, you're going to get more consistency out of Ben Watson. I go with Ben Watson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would go with Watson as well. Moyaki's got more, as they like to say to the kids these days, like to say upside. But if you need to win now, he's someone that's much easier to count on.
Yeah, I agree. But I would also say if you've got the spot, if you're really hurting at tight end, keep them both. And try to play the matchup. So we're going to say they're both smashes or stashes.
Smash stash?
So they're smash stashes. Smash.
And
there's Stashville.
All right, Jay. What's next?
Derek Ward. Looking at his stats, they've actually been improving since he was.
They have. He's got 3 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks, right, Stat Boy?
Yeah.
He's got 1 in each of the last 3 games. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, but he's just not getting the yardage. That's my
He's
only
not getting the
concern.
carries
He's not getting
either.
the carries.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
he
playing with
is the
fire.
backup.
he's
He
playing
is
with
the backup.
he's playing with Foster. He's he's just spelling him basically.
Yeah.
Obviously, their running game is good enough that he's breaking some, and that they're opening holes for him, and he's getting in the end zone.
I think
Again,
it
really
says a
depends
lot
on
about
who you've
Houston's
got.
line.
If you've got good players who can provide you with the real pop in other positions, and you're just like, you know what, I just want whatever your scoring system is. In my league, 10 points, 12 points out of Derek Ward. He's worth taking a shot because he's obviously getting in the end zone. If not, if you need more out of him, then I would say
So
no,
he's a
just stash him. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're expecting anything more than a couple carries, maybe he breaks 1 big run a game, maybe he gets a touchdown with a red zone carry. If you're expecting him to do more than that, you're deluded.
I mean, he only has 18 carries in the whole year,
Yeah,
so that's...
So you're saying stash?
I would actually say trash. I don't think his luck of the red zone, I don't think he's going to be averaging a touchdown a week anymore. And you got 4 carries without a touchdown, even if you break 1 for 20 yards.
Yeah, I agree with the trash. One thing I always say about this game is touchdowns are about luck and team play. Yardage is about the individual. He's not a yardage guy. When he has gotten it, it's because they're way ahead, and they're like, well, let's sit Foster down and just let Ward take the fourth quarter. I don't see that happening a whole lot because Houston's defense is letting everybody score on them now. So I'd say it's a trash.
All right.
He's a trash. What's next, Colin?
Okay, next one we got here is Santonio Holmes on a bye this week, but yeah.
Well, if he's on a bye, I would stash him on your roster. I wouldn't start him this
I'd
week.
start him right now. That's how confident you are in the rest of your roster.
If you are that confident. He's definitely a stash. He's not a guy, I don't think he's a guy you drop on a bye week.
No.
I mean, I definitely don't trash him, but, Santonio's on my squad, so I'm obviously paying a lot of attention to him because he needs that emotionally right now. But
He's a
I don't
heartbroken
think,
boy.
I've been starting Santonio
Very
Holmes.
sensitive man.
Look, he had 47 yards. He had receiving, he had another 30 rushing last week. He did have the fumble, but the week before that first Monday night game, he was being targeted a lot downfield. So he's able to get open. He's a great receiver. I mean, I'd play him, to be honest. Depending on who you got, I'd play
Not
Santonio
during the
Holmes.
bye week, of course.
Definitely
but,
not during the bye week.
Sanchez is not
Play
just,
golf with him during the bye
Sanchez
week.
is not what he was last year. Sanchez's job was to not throw an interception, and this year they're really opening up for him. He's proven that he's got the ability to do that. Sanchez is starting to put up good numbers.
He's throwing the ball downfield. I
So
like him.
that's the kind of, and he's the kind of guy. I watched him at USC for a couple of years. He will go to different wide receivers.
Do we have a
open.
USC tracker of how many times Adam mentions USC?
You know who I haven't
Too
mentioned
bad
yet?
Aaron Hernandez didn't go to USC.
I'm gonna mention Aaron
But
Hernandez.
Holmes is definitely a guy, and I think he's as he gets more comfortable with the offense because he was suspended for the beginning of it. I think his numbers are just going to go up.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think he's going to get better and better.
So stash him this week, smash him.
I think Braylon Edwards' numbers are going to go down, and
I
Santonio's
agree.
are going to go up.
I agree. What's next for us, Colin?
What was that? Stash match?
We're saying stash.
Stash.
Because he's on a bye week. Definitely stash.
Yeah, definitely stash.
Yeah.
Brandon Jacobs.
Hate him. Don't like him.
And,
He is getting in the end
he's,
zone. I
he's
can't
another
trust him.
touchdown guy.
I just
Yeah,
can't
he's
trust
another
him.
one of those.
His whole job in life is to make Ahmad Bradshaw owners angry. That's
Yeah.
all he does.
Yeah, his whole job is to be tall and big.
Ahmad
That's it.
Bradshaw is dominating. He's great. He
Yep.
would have numbers like Foster, except Brandon Jacobs gets all the runs within 5 yards.
And I think
You know,
you
no
summed it
touchdowns.
up with touchdowns are luck. I mean,
Yeah.
he's
Oh,
getting
I actually started Jacobs last week, and I was just hoping he would do exactly what he did.
Yep.
and he did.
Terrible
Yeah.
yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. That was enough. He was a bye week fill-in for me. And now I'll
Now
drop
you
him.
can be clean up.
I would say he's a stash only because of that, but he's a very weak stash.
He's a weak stash.
He's
yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
what you used him for.
He's like one of those
a
guys you
bi-week
knew in
filler.
high school that tried to grow the stash before they could, so he had a week. Okay.
Oh yeah, the dirt
Yeah,
dirt thing.
yeah, the little, you got a little something.
Yeah.
Thanks, Colin, for jumping on that. All right.
Colin?
Actually, I've got one I want to throw in there. We have a Twitter follower that is stationed in Japan.
Ooh.
And so, first of all, thank you for your service. Second of all,
Is fantasy
metal-
football big there? That's my question.
Well, probably not, but it's great that
Nothing's very
he
big
tunes
there.
in and he watches the show from Japan. I think it's great.
Wow.
We're
Racism.
international, man. We're huge. We're like CNN now, except more informative. Metal Militia 28, talking to you. He asked me about Fred Taylor, about what we think about Fred Taylor coming out of the bye. You know, obviously, might be the guy who knows.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think so. I think Ben Jarvis Green Ellis is doing a pretty fine
he's
job.
kind of established himself as their number one guy in Fred Taylor's
We
absence.
also have what Danny
Woodhead.
Woodhead. Yeah.
Claire's favorite,
This
He's
to
little.
me, this sums
little
up
and fast.
Little and fast.
this sums up the potential of anybody in the New England running game. Ready?
I believe my Jewish in-laws would say, meh.
Right? Yeah.
That's about it. Right?
Meh.
Yeah.
You know.
I agree. I actually think he's on a running back by committee on a team that's terrible at running the ball. I mean,
Yeah.
it couldn't get any worse. You
Yeah,
know,
but-
I don't even like Green Ellis that much.
But Fourname is doing it right now.
Yeah,
Ben Jarvis Green
yeah.
Ellis.
Yeah.
Fourname is the
Fourname.
man.
This is
Forname.
his nickname, the law
Fornami.
firm.
Fornami.
Yeah, the law firm,
Yeah.
which is a
Yeah.
cool nickname.
Which is a
Ben
great-
Jarvis
right.
Green
great
Ellis.
nickname.
It does sound like a law
But
firm.
yeah, Fred Taylor, he's not going to regain the number of carries he had before. You got better options,
Yeah.
probably.
And
Unless
it-
you're my team, and then maybe you take a desperate chance on him.
Yeah. Yeah. It's okay,
Right.
JJ. So-
All right.
All right. Colin,
You have
anybody
anything
else?
else out of the chat
we
room?
got one more actually. We got Mario Manningham.
Mario Manningham. I got to say, I actually like him. I like him as somebody to, I mean, if he's available in your league or if you have him, I like him.
Playing the Cowboys this weekend.
Manningham's a
Eli's
talent.
gonna be
He's
playing.
good.
He's a talent, but he's on a, you know, he's so similar to Nick's that he's kind of getting lost in the shuffle. But he just had a pretty decent game.
He did
Either,
have a decent game.
you know,
He was the second leading receiver last week behind
Yeah.
Steve Smith.
Yeah.
Akeem Nicks got shut down. That's not going to happen every week, of course.
No.
But think about it. Either of those two players go down, and Manningham immediately assumes the role of a starter and a very viable option. He was last week when all three of them were playing, and Akeem Nicks was coming off two of the better games of his entire career so far.
Well, Giants
And he
are one
still
of
caught
those-
5 balls for 50, 60 yards.
Giants are one of those teams. They know how to spread the ball around with
Yeah,
their
Manning,
offense.
Eli's very good.
Eli has really started to get into his groove as a quarterback and is just able to get the ball wherever he wants to go.
So it's all about who's open.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
like in
And
Indianapolis.
Manningham,
it's who's
just
open.
like when we talked about with those guys in New Orleans, Manningham disappeared for like 2
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
very much like a Henderson. He's very much like a Meacham. He's the guy
Yeah.
that'll win you a game and then be
Then-
gone for a while. You
Yeah,
know?
have nothing.
Yeah, I like Manningham. I'd
stash
say he's a stash. He's a good
Stash.
stash and an occasional bye-week fill. Sure, absolutely. All right.
What else? You got anything else, Colin?
That's it, right?
That's it. All right, well, that sums it up for Smash, Dash, and Trash. I do not believe we have any crazy jabber teams this week, do we? I'm
No.
so excited
No.
about the Butcher team. The team that, all the names that I've butchered. I'm
We
excited
will.
about
I will
that.
be back next week. It's been a little bit of a crazy week, but I will be back next week with something stellar. For
By the way,
week
I just want
7.
to point out that Jabber is playing right now with a severe concussion.
I am.
So
I am.
he's
I can't
pulling
even.
through. And,
We
and
shot him
turf
up-
toe.
I can barely gather my thoughts.
But you know what we did?
gave him some
cortisone
cortisone.
shot.
Yeah, gave him cortisone shot.
filled
He's
with
fine.
cortisone.
My ass is killing me.
All right.
All right.
Man,
Okay, so I'd like to thank TriCaster for giving us this lovely piece of equipment that lets us stream live to the web. You can find us on YouTube, iTunes, Blip, Ustream. You can go to streaminggarage.com for all of our shows. Stupid for Movies, great movie review show. That'll be on live tonight at 8 p.m. We've got Stripped Down Live with Kurt Smith, where he interviews bands. They play live here. We had Matthew Sweet on last night. It was a great show. And Stupid for Dexter, which is on at 8 p.m. on Mondays. It's a lot of fun, and I think the blonde on that show is really, really hot. All right, that'll be the end of the show. She's also my wife. All right, thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you next week at 2. Remember, follow us, Stupid the number 4, football on Twitter. I'll update you on the games coming up this week. If there's any late changes, I'm sure there will be. Good luck out there. Manny's
We'll
injured,
start
so
sparring.
I think I'll pretty much win it
Right.
by default.
Right.
All right, well, that's it for Who Screwed You. Now we get to celebrate when we're right. That was about when we were wrong. Now it's about when we're right. This is guys we've told you about, usually way before anybody else. In fact, I'm willing to say all the time before anybody else. So this is time for We Told You So.
Whoa.
Oh, finally a new one from
Love
Corey.
it.
I love it.
That
What
just
is
looks like a.
What does that
ghost, a
really
chicken, and a
say?
cow?
It's
I don't
like
It
know.
looks like
was-
sacrifices that you would do.
We try to bring in the bestiality crowd.
Yeah.
Wow.
Trying to
I don't know if I
appeal
want
to
that
everybody
crowd.
That's
on the
creepy.
net.
You're
That
wicking
is
gods or
So,
something.
we're going to start it off with a guy that I recommend. I actually wanted to recommend this guy in the first week of the year, but he was injured. We recommended him a couple weeks ago. We said in week three of the season, before the game started, to pick this guy up and stash him. That's Chris Ivory. What did ESPN say about him? They said he would get you 0 points. Gonna say we won that one.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And he's now on my team. That's
Yep.
who I traded.
I've had him all
And my
year.
team.
And his team.
So we've taken our own advice.
Because
We
our
have.
teams both.
They're not good.
And by the way, he's playing Cleveland this week, and Thomas is not going to be playing. So again, he should be really solid for you. Great RB2, and if you're in a keeper league, you gotta love that kid.
It looks like Bush is going to be out too.
Yeah.
Reg?
Yeah.
Oh,
Originally
yeah.
they had said that this was the week he'd be back, but it looks like that he is not going to be back. So
And
you got
Thomas has a high ankle sprain, so it's looking like Pierre Thomas, dealing with a high ankle sprain is I mean, that could
Yeah.
be weeks before he gets back.
Yeah,
so
and
Ivory's a great pick.
I'd bet one of the reasons that Bush isn't coming back
And I
is
just
they
picked him
probably
up, too.
think, and Colin just
You weren't that good. You weren't terrible, but you weren't that good against the Niners. Sean Green, you suck. And that's why I traded you. Okay? You and your sorry ass. You're out at Barely Legal, Team Barely Legal.
But what about that bet
Shipped him
where
out.
he's going to get more yards than
Of course.
Steven
Oh,
Jackson?
I still think I'm going to win the bet. He's just going to have to win
due to injury
that bet for
as
me
opposed to production.
someplace else. I like this camera angle. The Chiefs' defense screwed me. I mean, after a great performance on the
-4.
road, they got a
-4.
-4. They gave up 35 points, 421 yards, and all they can muster was 2 sacks. So, note to my partner, I wanted to pick up the Seahawks. You negged it. So whatever, that's who screwed me.
Time to get a
JJ?
partner.
I like Mark. New camera angle too. Yeah,
Right?
it's kind of weird. Yeah,
We're-
I like it. Yeah, we're throwing a flutter.
JJ's the new me.
I know it's kind of weird, and you're the new Claire.
That's not.
Go Niners!
But I, like Mark, could spend a lot of time talking about my entire team and how they screwed me. However, I think that I need to realize I'm in an abusive relationship. Miles Austin, again, second time this season, you've had 0 points. It's like when it's that relationship. You're like, but he's so amazing, and he's so wonderful.
He only does it 'cause he loves me.
And then you have weeks like this, and you go from I'm in my league, 38 points to 0, and you cause me a lot of stress and anxiety. But then you come back and you're beautiful again, and it's amazing. And I don't know. I think I don't know what I need. I don't know what to do. It's just abusive.
Oh, hey, look at that. There he is.
There it is. There's my
Oh.
thing. See, maybe, Miles, you need to spend less time.
Hello and welcome to Stupid for Fantasy Football. I'm Adam, this is Jabber, JJ, and our stat guy, Colin, is joining us at the table. We know he's not as pretty as Claire,
I'm still fairly pretty.
but,
though.
she's in high demand. So we're without her this
You're-
week.
you're not
She'll be
as
back
pretty.
next week. We're going to get right into the show here, get going. With our favorite show segment to open up the show with. We're going to talk about who screwed us over on our teams this week individually. It's time for Who Screwed Me. All right, I'll go ahead and kick it off.
All right.
Yeah, well,
It's our Halloween
Talk to
graphic.
me, Adam.
Yeah.
What happened?
Nice. It's creepy.
All right, so this week, and again, this is the second week in a row that I'm going to have to give a bad note to somebody that I usually love. Last week it was Peyton Manning. This week, Wes Welker.
Oh,
He just seems to kind of disappear behind Deion Branch there. I don't expect that's going to be a problem. I think that Brady loves Welker. They'll go back to him. He's kind of like the run game there. I always say that. but he did not do much for me, and my team lost because I need 30 points out of him every week. Come on, Wes, help me out. All right. Who screwed you?
Wow, who screwed me? Oh, hey, new camera angle. Hello, everybody. I'm next to
You're not used to
today.
that. Yeah.
Let's see, who screwed me this week? A lot of people screwed me, again. But let's just cut to the chase. Michael Bush, you won.
I'm on the beach hanging
That was
out.
Miles frolicking?
That was Miles frolicking.
I don't want to know about him. Who was that?
And,
does your league award points for tapping big round asses?
If it did, I might have
money.
scored a point this week. Might have scored a point this week. But you see, look at that. He's up for a one-handed catch in that picture. You see that?
It's fun
That's
in the
good
sun.
form.
I think he was
Now,
showing
if he
her
was
his
showing
armpit.
that, hey, but he can really celebrate a touchdown.
JJ,
That's
what do you have
awesome.
against fun?
You know what else he can do? He can cause just kind of push someone out of the way so he can get a catch and then run for 65 yards.
In the ocean.
And all that ocean training, and then it can get called back because of offensive pass interference.
Yeah.
It's I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do about my.
JJ,
I
I'm
just
looking
keep
at your
going back.
squad. It was just god-awful. I mean, I've never seen something that bad.
It is.
In a long time.
David Garrard, I'm not going to blame you because you got hurt.
Let's blame him.
Let's
But
blame him
seriously,
anyway.
you sucked before you got
didn't
hurt.
pick
I don't
up
know what
Trent
happened.
Edwards?
Go on to
Oh,
Colin. I
man,
can't
oh,
talk about
man,
this
oh,
anymore.
Colin, who screwed
right.
you?
Well, like everyone else, I had Welker. I had Kansas City. I actually managed to still win. But I'd say the big one would be I just blame myself because I didn't start Desean Jackson. I started Mike Wallace instead. Well, I should have replaced Wes Welker with Desean Jackson.
So, but what I love about that is that was you subconsciously taking my side of the bet that I lost
Yes.
with
Yeah,
Mark.
let's talk about the 12-er PBR
I
that
appreciate
I
your
won.
support.
Desean
Yeah.
Jackson versus Mike
And
Wallace.
Wallace did respectable. He did a
He
respectable
did. He had,
job.
what, 3 catches for 90 yards?
He had a
or something?
touchdown, so it's
Yeah.
like I'm not complaining.
Not as good as Deshaun,
No.
which covers me with my Sean Green loss.
Can
which
we
is
double
inevitable.
down on that bet this week?
Maybe we'll see. We'll pick.
Because
Maybe
he's on a box. Picked him up. We all have Chris Ivory now. Ivory was so good. They're probably saying, you know what? Let's let Bush rest
there's
a little
no
bit more,
there's no
have him
rush
in the
to get him
playoffs.
back. They're winning games.
Yeah.
And they have Sir Julius Jones. That guy was knighted.
No.
No. It's different. Different guy.
No.
All right.
All right. So,
That joke
Mark, who do we
landed.
got next on the We Told You So?
We told you so. Next one is up. I'm telling you about Kevin Cobb because in honor of Claire.
Because I can't say his name right.
Because he can't say his name right. Kevin Cobb. Claire had it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Well done, Claire,
he
wherever you
may
are.
be a little bit of a one-hit wonder. Vic is going to be back soon. But hey, Kevin Cobb, I mean, what's going on this week? Oh, they're on bye.
Well, no. Cobb is starting this week.
Oh, starting this
they're
week.
on bye week 8.
That's right.
Vic has practiced fully. He's going to be the backup, but I think they're going to give him just an extra week. They want to make sure he's fully healthy. But
Right.
he'll be around. So, that said, if Cobb balks at all here, Reed will pull him and put Vic in.
Yeah,
and
keep
if
in mind-
not, Vic is coming back after the week 8 bye.
But Reed has been definitely very wishy-washy.
Yeah.
And going back and forth on his guarantees of who his quarterback's going to be. So
Well, and Cobb
keep
is
an eye
his
on that.
guy.
Make sure you have a viable backup.
Cobb is his draft pick. He
Sure.
tutored Cobb. That's his guy.
Sure.
So if he plays well, I think And let's face it,
Vic
Philly
is his
fans are
criminal
fickle.
guy.
If you're winning now, we love you.
Yeah, and another thing about the situation is I think Vic will get the starting job back. If Cobb goes out and does 400 yards and 4 touchdowns, then yeah, it might become more of an issue. But even if Cobb is Reed's guy, I think it behooves Philadelphia to go ahead and play Vic because then they can trade him, keep Cobb, and obviously